Hey, welcome back. This is your host, Daryl M. Brooks, with the On Fire Show. And we're waiting for Ben Bergquam. I just talked to him. He's ready. He's excited. He's wanting to come on. And hey, Ben, are you there? Welcome to the On Fire Show. I sent you the invite, and are you there? Ben Bergquam, out of California. He's a California activist, freedom fighter. He stands by the Constitution. He stands by a lot of serious things that we're going to be talking about today and dealing with the estate. Yes, the sanctuary state and how to beat the sanctuary state and how to challenge the sanctuary state. So I apologize a little earlier, a little mix up. Hello, hello, hello. We're waiting for Ben Bergquam. He is coming on. Hey, Ben, this is the On Fire Show with your host, Daryl M. Brooks. Are you there? Yes, there you go, Ben. Adding you on, Ben.
I'm here.
Ben, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
All right. I am glad to have you on. People are excited about you.
Let me get my unprofessional home studio set up here. Hang on a second.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way. Yeah. Okay. So how you doing today? You move over to
yeah, there you go.
Okay, right there. So how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm actually a little under the weather, but other than that, I'm fighting the fight and keeping going out here. So it's
you're in California, so it's about what 6:10, 6:15?
Yeah. It's still light outside. Beautiful day. You know that if it wasn't for the politics of California, it'd be a beautiful place to live. But the crazy leftist communists have really overrun the state, and unfortunately, they've created the problems that we have today. So, but otherwise, it's an awesome place to live.
Yes, and also earthquakes too.
Yeah, you know what? I've never had an issue with that. So I've been here.
I haven't been to California yet, because I'm scared of earthquakes. But I have to come out there.
Yeah.
So Ben, tell us all about who you are.
My background, so I got involved in politics in college. I helped I started a company called Frontline America, or not Frontline America. That was recent. Patriots for America's Independence in college. Got involved with the Tea Party. I was the youth spokesperson for the Central Valley ag issues for the Tea Party when that all started. I saw the direction our state was going, our country was going. And I got involved in politics because it started affecting my life and the lives of people that I knew in the Valley here. And so that, to me, politics is just the things that impact our lives. And so I did that for a few years, helped run a couple campaigns. I did Jim Patterson for Congress, and then did a couple other ones. Got into the private sector, got my MBA, went into corporate retail for a few years, and had my soul sucked out. And then I felt the Lord call me back to the Central Valley, and over the last couple of years really draw me back into an activist role, standing up for the country. So about 2 years ago, when the whole Trump presidency, the campaign was going on, I started doing Facebook Live videos, and I was just a guy. I was a guy that was fed up with the way things were going, and I got sick of kind of the bureaucracy of organizations. I'd been involved with several organizations here locally, and I just got tired of having to wait on other people to do stuff. And so I just started going out and doing it. And that was what the catalyst that led me to where I am today. It went to Berkeley April 15th of last year. Got stitches on my head, and for standing up and for the values that we believe in. And that
I saw the picture.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I felt for you because I wish I was there to help you.
Yeah.
You need a tall guy like me to call.
Well, the crazy thing about that story, and I don't want to get too off track, is I went there with my wife, and I've got a pretty solid network in the Central Valley, but I didn't really know too many people outside of the Central Valley other than in Sacramento, having worked up there for a while. But I went to Berkeley. I had just seen what had happened with Milo and with Base Stickman. I didn't know Kyle Chapman at the time. I didn't know any of these guys. And so my wife was 8 months pregnant. I was like, hey, babe, you want to roll over to Berkeley with me? There's a Patriot rally going on. And I go out there. So my MO is I go out with my camera and I interview people, and God's given me the ability to stay calm under pressure and hostile situations. And so I go to try to find common ground and then also expose the lies of the left and motivate other people to join in what we're doing. And so I went over there just, having a good time with my camera, talking to people. And that's when everything went down. I ended up having to call. Luckily, I dropped my wife off to go shopping with my daughter. And so she didn't have to see any of it. But that was really kind of the pivotal turning point. I didn't have Frontline America at the time. I was just Ben Bergquam out there doing my thing. And that really led me into doing this more full-time. And started Frontline America. Now I have Frontline America Foundation as the nonprofit, developing that. And then through all that process, I got invited by the folks that were fighting against the sanctuary policy and the insane illegal immigration, open borders nonsense that we have here in California. They came to me and asked me if I wanted to be a spokesman. And that was really what led me to where we're at today. It was, I see that as the pivotal fight for the future of California. If we don't stop, well, two things. God is the foundation. If we don't put God first back into our country, the blessings that come from that, we're lost. But with that, the most important battle that we face in California is respect for authority, respect for the rule of law, and American sovereignty. And so this issue, the Fight Sanctuary State issue, is, to me, the most important one, and the one that we have the ability to reach the general public and start changing the culture. So maybe a little more than you wanted to know, but yeah.
No, it's great. So you started about 2008 with about the Tea Party movement,
yeah.
right? That's when I started with the Tea Party movement in New Jersey, Bayshore Tea Party and all the Tea Party rallies here in New Jersey and Philadelphia, and worked with the kind of Ron Paul movement.
Yep.
And so it's been exciting. Now you're talking about the sanctuary state, and I think it was at the City Hall you were speaking at, or the State Assembly office committee.
If it was the most recent one, that was at Tulare County Board of Supervisors 2 days ago.
Okay, Board of Supervisors. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in your area with the sanctuary state, with the governor there, and their plans and the costs.
Yeah.
Especially in California.
So it all boils down to the same godless Marxism that is really at the underneath most of what's wrong with our country right now. It's the cultural Marxism that's trying to undermine America from within. They've been indoctrinating our children for decades in the schools. They've taken over the media. They're in our courts and in our politics. And so what they've done, though, is they've taken this issue of immigration, and just like they do with every other victim class, the black community, the legal Hispanic community, anybody that they can victimize or create as a victim class, they take them and they use them as pawns for whatever the agenda is. So in this case, they have taken the leftist Democrats in California. Kevin A. Leon, I call him. He goes by De Leon. He changed his name to sound more ethnic, but his real name's Kevin A. Leon. And he, along with Jerry Brown and the other leftist Democrats in California, passed laws. And it started with sanctuary city policies, like San Francisco has, that protect criminal illegal aliens. That not only, so they're criminals in the fact that they're here illegally. Every illegal alien is a criminal, but they've committed additional crimes. And the hat I wear for Kate Steinle, she's the name that a lot of people know across the country. She was killed on the Pier 14 in San Francisco by a 5 times deported illegal alien who was protected by San Francisco's sanctuary policies. Those policies put illegal alien criminals' lives above American citizens. And last year, the state assembly or the state government passed the Senate SB 54, which was the sanctuary state policy, which took those sanctuary city policies and created a state law that, again, puts illegal aliens above American citizens and protects them. But the bottom line is they're using this to undermine American sovereignty. These are the people that don't believe in borders. They don't believe, unless it's their house, unless it's Jerry Brown's house. He doesn't want you coming into his house. But if it's coming into your house, Daryl, or anyone else's, they don't care. So they've created these policies. So we at FightSanctuaryState.com, we initially were going to do a referendum against the law, but we got approached by Agnes Gibney and Don Rosenberg, some of our angel parents that are involved, Sabina Durden, And they said, we want to do more. Our kids were killed by these policies. If all we do is repeal the state law, that doesn't change the city policies that got our children killed. And so what we're doing now, the Fight Sanctuary State Initiative, it's the Communities, Children, and Family Protection, or Communities, Family, and Children Protection Act, it does three things. It makes sanctuary policies, it repeals SB 54 and makes sanctuary policies illegal. So not just the state, but cities in California. It would criminalize people like Libby Schaaf, who's the mayor of Oakland, who protected 800 plus criminally illegal aliens from raids that ICE was doing. It repeals AB 450, which actually get this, in California, if you're a business owner, AB 450 was passed the same day as SB 54, was signed the same day. If you're a business owner and ICE approaches you and says that you've got a criminal alien working at your establishment and we'd like you to cooperate with us. If you cooperate with ICE, you can go to jail, you can be fined, you are now the criminal as the business owner for working with immigration enforcement. That's the insanity of California. It doesn't make any sense, of course not, to a rational person. So it'll repeal AB 450 and it'll repeal AB 60, which was the driver's license. So again, it's just the fact that we even have to have these conversations. They passed AB 60, which gave driver's licenses to illegals in California. Over 1 million illegal aliens now in California have driver's licenses. And the craziest part about this, in California, if you have a driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote. Unless you opt out, unless you go in and unregister or say no, you're automatically. So we have millions of people now that are registered to vote that are here illegally. In the last election, the estimates I've heard were anywhere between 1 million and 3 million illegal votes. So we will repeal that and do something crazy. We're going to make you have to prove your citizenship in order to vote. I mean, think about that. Like, it's just insane. So I was to answer your question, I was at Tulare County Board of Supervisors. I'm part of the opt-out movement as well. So we're working with municipalities across the state of California to opt out of the lawless law. An unconstitutional law is not a law. And so we are working in Tulare County. I was there on Tuesday. They had their Board of Supervisors meeting, and they voted 3-1 after an hour and a half of nonsense, that I had to sit through. That's why I was a little pissed off when I got my turn to speak, because 2 illegal aliens had actually spoke before me. And I, to me, that's more than an insult. We should have ICE at these meetings, and they should be taken out and deported right there. But so that was why I was there. I'm working with the cities and the patriots across the state of California to mobilize, to join together and confront this from 3 directions. So we've got the federal government and the administration with their lawsuit, and we support that. The lawsuit, that could take 2 to 5 years going through the courts, ultimately to the Supreme Court. And even if they are successful, the cities will still be able to pass or do their policies, and the state will find some workaround. So we said we support the lawsuit, but we want to make sure, we want to codify it into California code that you will never, ever be able to do this again and criminalize people like our Attorney General. I mean, our Attorney General, Javier Becerra, is one of those. He is a criminal. He's aiding and abetting criminals. And so the initiative will criminalize that. And the third tier is working with municipalities to rise up against this lawless law. So we're coming at it from all fronts. But that's really in a nutshell what we're doing and why I'm traveling around the state and speaking and confronting this. And
wow, one of the things that is going on here, we talked over the phone. I told you about Phil Murphy, and he's allowing. I just signed a bill in for illegal immigrants to get free college education, and I've been talking to people that doesn't make any sense. But I want to go back about 8 or 9 years ago in Newark. And it was on Law. I was a scene on Law and Order. It was a part of Law and Order, the TV show, where there were 3 or 4 kids, high school students, who were going to college that summer, and they were, I think, 3 or 4 African American kids. They was in a park, and there were these 3 illegal immigrants. They was illegals. They were locked up, and they let them go under Cory Booker, the city of Newark. And then they were in the park. They had a gun. They got the 3 or 4 African American kids on a tennis court, and the illegal put a gun to their head and assassinated all 3 of them.
Wow.
and they were locked up at one time. They were already locked up. They let them out. They didn't know. They didn't call ICE. They didn't lock them up. And ICE didn't pick them up. They let them go. And so the community, the North community, was outraged. The African American community was in outrage. And what happened was the politicians came, the Democrats came, and they all calmed the people down. Let's just calm down. We'll deal with it. So you know, there's a serious problem here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
People talking about my audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm listening. I was sending some invites. Sorry if I had a dumb look on my face.
Okay.
I was inviting some folks to it.
So one of the things is that, free college education. It doesn't make sense why American kids,
yeah, oh yeah,
American citizens in New Jersey have a hard time paying for education. They can't pay for education. They're not getting enough student loans. They're not getting enough grants. Their parents work hard. Parents pay taxes, and they can't get a free education. But you have illegal immigrants.
Yep.
And you're right, who are criminals.
Yep.
Criminals.
Yep.
If we went to another country,
imagine,
without our passport,
yep,
they would what? Lock us up and send us back.
Yep. Well, and you look at Mexico. Mexico has some of the strongest immigration laws in the world. If you're an illegal alien in Mexico, you are in a world of hurt, unless you work with the corrupt government and just pass through and come to America. So they're okay with that if they know that you're not staying in Mexico. But if you try and stay in Mexico, they just won't let you. I mean, they have some of they have some of the strongest immigration. So you brought up a couple good points. And it's outside of our narrow focus with the fight sanctuary issue, but it's all connected. It's all tied together. I went to a school, an elementary school in San Diego when I was down there last time. During the border tour, we were told that this has been verified that there are people that drive across from Mexico. They drop their kids off at the schools in America, and then they come back and pick them up in the afternoon and drive back. So they actually live in Mexico. So it's even worse than they're here illegally. They don't even live in America. They come across the border, drop their kids off, use our property taxes, our tax dollars, and educate their kids. When I was at Fresno State, I got 80 grand. I still have almost 80 grand in student loans. Paid my way through school because my parents couldn't afford to pay my way, and we made too much in order to get to get it paid for. So I had to pay my way through school. I had illegal aliens in my class who got free rides to Fresno State. I mean, that is taxation without representation, that you are stealing from me and you're going to give it to somebody else who has no business being here. In California, the last estimate that I saw, $25 billion each year goes to the net. So when you take into account, they always say, they use all these lame arguments. You'll hear these people, and I should say hi to some of the folks that are on here. I noticed some comments coming up. So it's good to see you guys. But me too. I'm getting comments. I know. It's hard to do. I'm so terrible at that. I'm like, I got to say it. But anyways, but it's good to see you all. Thank you thanks for having me on, Daryl.
Also the Constitutional Republicans out of New Jersey. I got to say hi to him.
Yeah.
He's in New Jersey. You got to look him up, the Constitutional Republicans.
Absolutely. Well, and the key for all of this is connecting patriots across the country to stand up for this time in history. We are at a pivotal time in history. But so again, the whole thing, we've got illegal aliens getting free rides on the backs of taxpayers. It's taxation without representation. It shouldn't happen. In California alone, $25 billion a year. When you take what illegal aliens pay into the system versus what they take out of the system, the net impact is a negative $25 billion a year. It equates to somewhere around $2,500 per person or per household for every California resident that's paying for this. And across the country, the last number I heard was around $116 billion that goes to pay for illegal aliens. One of the things that gets me is they always talk about building the wall as, Trump, we don't have the money to pay for it. Think about if we just stopped paying illegal aliens in California for 1 year, we would pay for the wall. So all of these leftists that are out there saying, oh, we can't afford it, blah, blah, stop paying people that don't have a right to our taxes. And beyond that, like you said, leftists like Cory Booker, and for the African-American, the black community, I hate using those terms. We're all Americans. I actually lived in Africa.
Yeah, we're all Americans. Yeah.
But for the communities across the country that identify as, black or African-American or minority, they are even more disposed to harm from illegal immigrants and illegal aliens because those typically the illegal aliens, and this goes back to the illegal alien community. We actually have illegal aliens coming to us saying, we support what you're doing because we don't want these criminals either. Those criminals, when they get let out, they don't go back into affluent communities. You know, these MS-13 members aren't going into Cory Booker's neighborhood or Jerry Brown's neighborhood. Yeah. They're going into the inner city, to the lower income neighborhoods, and they're criminalizing, they're victimizing those people. They're also stealing jobs from low wage earners. And so when you look at the impact of illegal immigration, it's not just the criminals that we're fighting. It's the impact on society as a whole. It's driving down wages. It's hurting your children's success in school because your tax dollars are going to funding their children who don't have a right to be here. It covers the whole gamut of economic issues. So no, you're absolutely right. And it's time. That's why we see an uprising. I see across the country, we see people of all colors, of all types of melanin in their skin, standing up and saying, we reject this. It's America first. You have a duty. And that's why my speech, that was what I said. You have a duty as a representative of my Constitution, of America, to uphold the Constitution for American citizens first, and then for legal immigrants. But illegal aliens have no right to come in here and demand a single thing. Just like if I went to Mexico or Central America or Europe or Australia, if I went into any of those countries illegally and I started demanding things, what would they do? They would either laugh at me or throw me in jail or kick me out of the country, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So why do you think it is what it is? Things are happening like right now, and do you believe it's maybe a political conspiracy, especially with the left, with the right? I mean, with the left in these areas. Are you looking at the thing for voting?
Yes.
A future of vote.
So yes.
Because some people are saying this because they know the Democrats are going to need a certain amount of votes in another 5 to 10 years.
Right. Yes. So a couple things. Democrats like illegal aliens to stay illegal because they like victims. The swamp Republicans like illegal aliens to stay illegal because they like cheap labor. And so you've got people on both sides of the political spectrum who like to keep it the way, or want to keep it the way it is. They don't want to fix the problem. Congress needs to act. Congress needs to build the wall, funding for the and build the wall. They need to enact E-Verify. You should not be able to work in America if you are not supposed to be in America. They should end chain migration and end birthright citizenship. If Congress did that, we would end most of the problems that we have here. But to answer your deeper question, why they're doing this, the left is doing this to undermine America, period. They are using illegal aliens to undermine America. In California, we have the La Raza, the Brown Berets, all these communist groups. They're really anarchist, anti-American, hateful groups that don't actually say, and will say it to your face, they don't believe that California belongs to America, that it was stolen. They use these stupid stolen land and all this. Obviously, they don't know history with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, but this nonsense has permeated and perpetuated, and a lot of this stuff is actually taught in Mexico, and then they bring it up into America. They don't assimilate, and then that mindset continues and perpetuates. The left sees them as useful in their attack to undermine America. The left wants a communist America. They hate our Constitution. They hate our reliance on God for our rights. They want government as the center of our universe, like you see in Marxist countries around the world. That's what the bottom line in all of the battles that we're facing across this country, for the most part, when you boil it down, it's godless Marxism. And they will hide it under so many different names, under so many pretty sound, progressivism. It's all about caring and compassion, and when in reality they're the least compassionate, most hateful people that you'll meet. And that's where, these are the children of the violent left. These are and so it's all connected to that. So when you boil it down, and I would say, and you probably would be the same, I get, if you live, and I lived in Africa. My parents were missionaries in West Africa for years, in Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and Niger. And so I've seen real poverty. I mean, I've seen what despotism gives you. And I think about that. if I lived in a country like that, if I lived in Mexico and I didn't see any, or Central America, and I didn't see any opportunity for my family, would I consider coming up here? Well, of course I would, especially when you're incentivized to do it, especially when when you've got people in this country inviting you in and enticing you with healthcare, welfare, education, all this stuff. Of course, but that doesn't justify the behavior. So I have people come to me. I get it. I have a level of compassion for the people that come here that are trying to escape, abject poverty in a third world country. That doesn't justify that behavior, and it doesn't mean that I have to pay for it. And so I blame our criminal politicians more than I blame people trying to come here. But there is a sect of the people that are trying to come here that are a part of the undermining of this country. So what we have to do to fix this problem is to end the bleeding, stop the bleeding. If you cut yourself, you don't do anything until you heal the wound. And the wound right now is the lawlessness. It's the criminality and the politicians that are trying to undermine this country. And the solution is to seal the wound, to stop the inflow. So the federal government has to do their job. And in the states, we have to do what we can. And that's where the initiative, the Fight Sanctuary State initiative, comes in, where we say this is criminal behavior and we will not allow it anymore in our state. You will not be able to vote unless you can prove your citizenship. And if you are a politician that puts illegal aliens over American citizens, you will be put in jail and you'll be fined. And that's once that happens, then we'll actually see changes start. And when the federal government enacts things like E-Verify, you can't get a job illegally. You won't come here. You wouldn't come here from another country if you didn't have opportunity once you got here. So we just have to stand up and start pushing back. And unlike the limp noodle, weak Republicans that we've had in California, the Republican establishment in California.
We have some right here in New Jersey.
They're pathetic.
We have them in New Jersey.
Yeah, they are become comfortable losing. They're happy enough to sit in their little bubble of influence. They think, they're in the super minority. In California, we're in a super minority on the Republican side. And I actually have people that I know that are on the inside of the Republican Party whose philosophy it is to play defense. So they don't ever go on the attack. It's always trying to defend what little bubble that they have. And the solution to us taking back, and again, we are in a pivotal time. We have a reprieve in history right now with Donald Trump as our president, with people finally waking up, and with the left having taken the pendulum to a place of insanity. It's gone so far that people on the right, we have Democrats coming to us as well saying the Democrats are no longer my party. So we have Republicans and Democrats, rational people coming together and saying, this is too far. And rather than playing defense, we're going to start playing offense. And we've already done that. We're playing offense and we're taking ground back. Rather than just saying, we're going to go back to where it was before you took ground the last time, we're going to go and take more ground back. And again, that's where we criminalize the sanctuary policies on the cities. And we institute punishments for that. And we say to the election office, you cannot automatically register voters. You have to prove citizenship. So as we do that, a couple of things are going to happen with that. It gives us a platform to speak, and it gives us the opportunity to reach people that we wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. Because there are millions of people across this country that are just clueless. They're ignorant. They don't follow. They don't have a clue what's going on. They're happy enough just getting their check each month from the government, and that's all. We need to reach those people and convince them that our way is a better way. And this issue in particular gives us the opportunity to do that.
Well, one of the things that we're doing, and I think I told you about it, is called the RV tour.
Yes.
We're going to be going starting June 16th. We're going into the inner cities areas, Camden, North Jersey City, Elizabeth, all a part of New Jersey, the inner city, and talk about illegal immigration. Talk about stopping sanctuary state. Talking about Second Amendment rights, all these different rights that people need to know about. That they have, when I talk to people in the inner city and African Americans, they are upset about illegal immigration.
Yes.
They're upset because first thing they say, well, they're taking our jobs.
Yep.
The way they lowered the wages.
Yep.
They don't respect our country.
Yep.
They don't respect us.
Yep.
And I totally get that. I totally get that because I'm in the city all the time and I talk to a lot of people. And even when it's the point of getting in an accident, I was in an accident one day where I was in a car with a friend of mine, and we made a left, and the car kept on coming. Saw the stop sign, red sign, the stop. He kept on coming and hit my side, and I looked at it in slow motion.
Yeah.
I was like, and I'm looking at the guy. This guy is not going to stop. So the two cars were getting a wreck. He gets out, makes a phone call, and the next thing you know, one of their aides, some type of illegal aid, comes out and helps them out.
Uh,
And so when I talk to other people, they said yes. They make a phone call and call someone. So he didn't have a license, but the police department, the cops, did not lock him up
right.
at all.
It happens every
so,
day in California.
So if it was us,
Yep.
we go to jail.
Yes. The double standard is insane.
We don't have insurance.
Yep.
We go to jail.
Yep.
We don't have our license.
Yep.
We go to jail. And so there's a lot of, say, African Americans in barbershops and other areas, I talk to. They say it does not make sense at all.
Yep.
Why is this happening? And a lot of people feel that they can't do anything about it. They cannot do anything about it. And that's a shame what's happening to places
well,
in New Jersey.
And the irony of that is,
mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends. Will Johnson is one of my good friends. I've got a lot of black friends. I've got Hispanic friends. I've got everybody. And that's one of the things that really pisses me off about I get called a racist all the time. My wife is from, she was a refugee immigrant, came over from Laos. And I have every color under the sun. I don't care what your color is. I care about the content of your character. When in reality, the left are the ones that are racist. They divide people on all these into all these categories. But with that being said, people in those victim classes that the left has created, these artificial victim classes, they are kryptonite to the left. When you go into the black community and they say they can't do anything about it, they have more power than I have. I mean, I have the ability to go out there and speak my mind and communicate effectively. And so there's assets that I have that give me the ability to affect change. But if the black community and the legal Hispanic community were to stand up, all Americans, and say, we reject you, Democrats. We reject this leftism. It's time for you to put us first and America first. We're not victims. If we are victims, we're victims of you and your policies that have kept us in chains and in poverty for decades. We reject. If that starts happening in mass, the left, and it's already starting to happen, and they are freaking out already. They're pretending like they're trying to ignore it, but they know it's happening and they're already freaking out. So I would empower those. I would go into those places and say, you don't realize the power that you have. They've used you as a victim for years. Now it's time for you to take your power and to go and actually influence and take it and say, you know what? I don't need your welfare. I don't need your government handouts. I just need an opportunity. I just need you to get the hell out of my way, and I'll make it for myself. And if we have a generation that starts to do that of all colors, we will destroy the Democrat Party in less than a decade. Because they've overplayed their hand so far that they won't be able to pull it back.
Yeah, you're definitely right. One of the things is that I was talking to some guys today. I said, listen, we got to go into the colleges.
Yep.
We got to talk to Americans.
Yep.
We got to talk to community colleges, four-year colleges, organizations inside the colleges, and talk to them.
Yep.
Your tax dollars, your parents' tax dollars are paying for illegal immigrants for free education.
Yep.
And you're the ones that are suffering.
Yep.
Our American, and when you talk to them in a certain way, and they start to think that they're really educated individuals, that light up pop up on top of their head. Put the thinking cap on, as our teachers used to say.
Yep.
They will realize that something is completely wrong and not even challenge their colleges, but also challenge the government about changing the policies, because that's what it's all about. If the policies are wrong and they go against American citizens and we're Americans, then it's time for us to challenge the system.
Yeah.
Because what Phil Murphy is doing is totally corrupt. Totally corrupt. and with the Democratic, progressive left, the social, Marxism behind it. It's totally corrupt. But we have to, guys like yourself, myself, and others, have to really, and I love what you're doing because you're speaking out. You're empowering American.
So I was doing some more invites. Yeah. No, you're right. And so here's the fear that I have. So the one thing I believe, and the reason I'm still in California, and probably the reason you're still in New Jersey and other, people that stay in heavily Democrat states, I believe we are called for this time in history. I was actually, this is kind of off, a few years ago, I was praying about it, and I felt the Lord show me the Central Valley and a beacon of light coming out of it, like a huge spotlight. And I felt the Lord say that that He is raising up a generation of people for this time in history, and it's coming out of the Central Valley, and it's going to spread across California and across the country, and there's lights coming up all over the country. We are in a unique time in history where if the people that are called by His name will stand up and go back to the foundation, that the blessing of this nation, God, family, and country, we have the opportunity to change this. The concern I have, I really saw it when we had the last mass shooting in Florida, when within a couple days, the left could organize into high schools across the country and organize walkouts. When I saw communist organizers with hundreds of thousands of students all saying the exact same thing across the country, that really concerns me. So you're right. We need to get into colleges, but we need to get down into elementary and high schools as well, because the indoctrination starts there. If we don't change this within 5 years, we're going to have those people that have been indoctrinated, that believe this nonsense, that believe you don't have the right to a Second Amendment, and if your words offend me, then you don't have the right to a First Amendment. Those people are going to be coming out of school, they're going to be voting, and they're going to be running for office, and eventually they're going to be running the country. We have to reach those people. We have to get them. But there are enough of them that we can reach to defeat them. One of the things that I get all the time too is, we need to compromise with the left. I'm done compromising. We need to defeat the left. We need to convince more people on our side to believe what we believe and defeat leftism. I don't care about your feelings. I care about the future of the nation, for my daughters, for my family, and for the God that I follow. And so my whole focus is defeating leftism. There are enough people that are blind right now that we can give sight to, or bring, take the blinders off of and bring to our side, that we can win this. But we're at a really critical time. If we don't do it in a hurry, the nation could be lost. So,
you're definitely right, because one of the things that we as Christians, we have to know that God is on our side.
Yep.
And God will be with us.
Yep.
God will stay with. God is with us. I always quote James Russell Lowell. Martin Luther King quoted him when he says that true forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. And behind them unknown stands God within the shadows, keeping watch above His own. God is in the shadows watching us. He's protecting us. And what I tell Christians, we have to stand up. We have to be strong.
Yep.
We can never bow down.
Yep.
Because once we bow down, then the left knows they got
Yep.
us. And so you're definitely right.
And to put a point, that's why we're in the situation we're in. Yeah. Primarily because the church bowed down. The church, God's people, because of the fear of not being politically correct or losing their 501c3, the lie of the separation of church and state, was silent when and evil reigned. And there's a quote, it's given credit to, I think, Aaron Burke, but it's when evil prevails when good men do nothing. Well, that we see the outcome of that over the last 40 plus years. It's been 100 years of progressivism in America, but really the last 40 from or 50 from the 60s till now, almost 60 years now, till now, the attack on God and the attack on the family, the attack on fathers as the head of the households, the attack on God's order for the family and for the nation, that is the foundation that everything else is built on. If we lose that, which we have in most areas of the country, we've given that up, our nation is lost. And that's why we see the erosion of our families. That's why you see mass shootings. It's not because guns. I've got guns right now. They're not shooting anybody. And my daughters, they don't shoot anybody because they're trained on how to use them and how to respect them. They know how to respect me, and they know how to respect themselves. That is the key. when God's people rise up and repent and come back to his truth and to that and reject the lie of political correctness. Reject it's a lie from Satan telling you to be silent when you know that what you're up against is evil. You were called to call it what it is.
Yeah, and you're right. And what you were saying is remind me of what Martin Luther King used to talk about in his speeches. We must not do what's politically right, but what's morally right for the people.
Yes.
And so, yes, and that's what King taught.
And think about that too, Daryl. How disappointed Martin Luther King would be in our country right now, in the left. He'd be, and it's not because of racism on the right, although there are idiots, and I acknowledge that there are idiots. They're white idiots, they're black idiots, they're brown idiots, they're idiots of all color and across the country. But when you look at the opportunity that Martin Luther King and the seeds that he planted to judge on the content of character rather than the color of skin, who really was a Christian conservative and wanted to see and to see what the left under Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and these they call them race pimps, these guys that have, and really it's more self-serving. They took an opportunity to fix problems, and they exacerbated those problems by keeping people in an ideology of bondage. We have an opportunity to break people out of that right now, and it's starting to happen. It's happening across this country where people are uniting, and they're starting to see that. But I look at what Martin Luther King did, and I can just imagine how disappointed he'd be, but that he would actually be on our side. And so that gives me hope too. The interesting thing too is like a guy like Cesar Chavez. The left always uses him as their role model. Then they go out there, and they'll even quote him to me at these fight sanctuary when they're trying to push their open borders, their borderless philosophy. It's really communism, anarchist communism combination. They'll quote Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was one of the biggest anti-illegal alien advocates out there. He actually had, and this is one, I don't necessarily advocate for this, he had groups of legal immigrants that would go beat up the illegal immigrants to get them out, because he knew the impact that illegal immigration would have on the legal immigrant community. So all of these things, but we've allowed, through the media, through education, through the courts, all these, an indoctrination of lies. And it's time that we start ripping out those lies, shining light and truth into society, into the culture. And once that, the darkness can't exist with the light. And so as soon as we shine in there, it's gone. They're defeated. The truth defeats it. But for years we've just been silent. But now we are silent no more. We're going in, and we're starting to win the battle.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Martin Luther King said, darkness cannot put out darkness, but
yes.
can put out darkness.
Amen.
And
Amen.
You're a part of that light.
Yep.
And boy, I wish you were in New Jersey. You're part of the RV tour. But what I want to say that are people that are watching, please go to the RV tour. I'm going to send this link out right now, and it's all about the RV tour, the GoFundMe account.
Sure.
We're raising money for this account, and we're going all over the different areas in New Jersey, and we're asking people to support. So, I just want to say that
and I'll do a pitch on mine too for fightsanctuarystate.com. I support the RV tour, and I would love to do that. I'd love to come join you. My finances aren't the best right now.
Get you a bull.
Oh, I got it. I call it my megaphone. It's my mag.
Okay, your microphone. And it is so important. All that you have said has been so correct. And we especially dealing with MS-13s. And calling these individuals then animals.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Our president called them animals. They're animals. When you want to go out there and you want to destroy American citizens,
yep.
You want to kill American citizens.
Yep.
And then you have politicians that agree with them, support the MS-13s,
yep.
want MS-13s in this country. Something is wrong.
Yep.
Mentally. I mean, we have our politicians who are on the left, like Phil Murphy, other those, the one in the governor, what's the governor?
Jerry Brown. Yep.
Jerry Brown. If I'm president right now, and you have mayors across the country that says we're going to protect illegal immigrants, we're going to stop ICE from doing their job. If I'm the president, Daryl Brooks right now is the president, I would send my force out
Yeah.
to lock every
Yep.
one of those
Yep.
mayors up, governors up right now.
I was in the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
and
and you would be justified in doing it. I was in the meeting
Yeah.
in Sacramento when Jeff Sessions came to California and announced the lawsuits. And I asked him as he was leaving, he didn't answer. I said, when are you going to start making arrests? Because they are in their right to make arrests. When this is, at minimum, it's sedition. But really, if you look at the definition of treason, aiding and abetting our enemies, it's treason.
Yeah.
So they are absolutely, the tricky thing that we are in right now in our country is it's all a powder keg. We are so polarized on the right and the left. I'm sure President Trump's looking at that and the administration saying, what are the ramifications? You know, are we going to have more riots? Are we going to have more, you know, but we're leading towards that. We're already in a cultural.
It's happening.
Yeah, we're already in a cultural civil war. It's just we haven't seen the mass bloodshed that could happen. And so I think I totally agree with you that he would be justified. The administration could go in, the Justice Department could go in and arrest Libby Schaaf. They should have done it already. They could go in and arrest Jerry Brown. They could go in and arrest Kevin Leon. I think they're playing more of the political strategic game of letting these guys show who they truly are and letting the people, because the change will be much more powerful if it's we the people that make it than if it's the government that comes in and imposes these. Really, what it could end up having a backlash if they went in and arrested these guys, they would become martyrs to the left, and and so but I agree with you. We would be totally justified in bringing out a firing squad on some of these treasonous politicians. I believe there's reasons why they're not doing that, that are more to allow us, you and me, and we the people that love this country, love our God, love our families, to stand up and take the country back ourselves. And that's where we're at right now.
Phil Murphy and then lock Hillary.
Yes, yeah. No, it's all connected. It's all connected. I wear this hat now for remembering Kate. This one they really love. You can't read its back, but ICE. They love that. ICE. But this, it's all connected. The same attacks, the Trump derangement syndrome. I was wearing this hat or a hat like this when I got the stitches on my head. It's all connected. All of these leftists, all of these godless Marxists are all following the same evil ideology. And if we don't, if we stand up now, we win. Bottom line is, if we stand up as patriots who love this, we win because we have truth. But if we allow it to happen, we lose. And it's happened across history. When the righteous stay silent, evil takes over, and that's what we've had. The righteous are starting to rise, and we will win if we do.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I wish you well, and I just wish that you make a guy want to go out to California.
Come out, brother. Come out, man. Well, and that's it. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities financially. I'm going through some stuff. We're figuring out how to monetize this and keep the. I went from a full-time businessman and working to basically a full-time activist, and I'm like, all right, Lord, you've called me to this. I trust you're going to take care of it. And I know a lot of other people that are in that situation. But as God starts really bringing these things, I know, God starts bringing these things together, he will start providing the resources. And that's one of the things on the right. And I try to bring this out. There are fighters and there are funders. And on the right, for a long time, the left has this. The left has the George Soroses that end up funding all these activists. On the right, we don't have
foundations.
Through foundations, through grants, and through our own tax. We slit our own throats with our own taxes. But the right, we don't have this. So part of what I'm doing with Frontline America Foundation ultimately will be a funding mechanism, and through the PAC, a funding mechanism to help do what we don't do very well, and that's fund grassroots organizations. But that's my call out. Anybody who's watching, who's wealthy, who believes in Daryl and what he's doing, support the bus tour, the RV tour, support the people that are actually on the front lines that are fighting. It's time to connect the funders with the fighters. And, so that's the next level.
It's one of those things, me and a guy was talking today, Frank Koch, American Pushback. and he said, Daryl, he said that we're on the right, we're struggling. And I definitely understand that. One of the things that I watched Glenn Beck. I've listened to, what's the other guy name? I can't think of his name. Conservative talk show host, bunch of them on the radio.
Yeah, Mark Levin or Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh.
I love
Who
Rush.
are very wealthy.
I love Rush.
Yeah, they're very wealthy, and
I know.
I believe,
Rush makes like 400 million a year in his contract.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
These guys could really, especially Glenn Beck. I think at one period of time in his career, he could have made a deep impact, especially in areas in certain parts of the country.
Yeah.
And
I don't, I look at guys like that, and I feel like I don't want to begrudge somebody for using the resources that God gave you in the way that you feel God's leading you to do it. And guys like that are already, they're fighting through their communication. You're right. I mean, Rush Limbaugh has enough money that he can do whatever he wants. But I want to challenge people to do what God has called you to do. There are plenty of wealthy people, business owners. What we need to do, and a friend of mine, Lance Wallnow, he's an evangelist and just awesome guy. I consider myself a political evangelist. I look at guys like Lance Wallnow as kind of the example of what I'm leading towards. But he does a talk about the 7 mountains and the connecting of the church with business, with politics, with media, with education, and all of the areas of society. Really the area that hasn't got involved. So there are a lot of people that are on the periphery that see what's going on, and they're business owners, they're wealthy, they're secluded, they're isolated, and they're focused on what they're doing, and God bless them. But once we connect those, if we can connect those 7 mountains, those areas, and start working together and actually have the people, and whether it's Rush Limbaugh or some other, private sector, some business guy, getting the people that are led to invest in this thing is really the key to that next level. Because you and I can only do it for so long on our bootstraps and on our savings. I mean, but there is that is starting to happen. It needs to happen faster. So if
yeah, I definitely understand what you're talking about, because we're doing it on our phone and we're reaching thousands of people.
Yeah,
literally thousands of people.
Yeah.
And so they're getting a message across, because one of the things for my show is On Fire Show. Now people don't know I got the On Fire Show name after watching Glenn Beck. He was like the whole, with his Fox News, the world is on fire.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, great name.
Yeah.
I'm only using On Fire Show. But the thing is that we can use our Facebook Live and talk to people and put out a message, and people are understanding the message. And for me, like having individuals like you on,
Yeah.
Other people from around the country connecting and talking about different ideas.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. I come on 4 or 5 days a week, and getting guys like you on, Will on. I've had a bunch of other individuals on the show.
Yeah.
And male, female, younger, older, and so I'm excited. And it is something. This is what we're doing right now is very revolutionary.
Yeah. And there's something that's coming with that. So I've been talking to some different media outlets, that big ones, and they don't quite get it yet. But once they do, once the light bulb clicks, they for them it's all dollars and cents. Does it help their bottom line? Well, there's a movement. This movement that's going on right now is the movement. But it hasn't been tapped into yet. And so there are things that are coming. I can feel them down the pike in the near future that are going to provide the resources and provide the gas for this car that we're driving on right now to really launch it into this next phase. So I believe it. I rest in the Lord. I pray His blessing. I decree it, and I accept it on me and on you and on all the patriots that are standing up and fighting to save this nation for God's glory in His name. And so in the name of Yeshua.
Yes, amen. And so, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show, and you keep on fighting.
Yeah.
And Jesus wants us to, we follow in the footsteps of Jesus.
Amen.
Keep on pushing and standing up for what's right.
Yep.
And you're welcome to come on anytime. You're exciting. You're exciting guest. You know the issues, anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to push a message to, just come on the show. You have my number. Give me a call. There are people who I've seen. I can look at the comments. They're excited about you, especially the Constitutional Republicans out of New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, join
awesome.
us, and the Fight Sanctuary State, again, fightsanctuarystate.com. If you feel compelled, obviously, if you're not in California, it's hard to volunteer, but you can still donate there. What we're doing there, if we can kill this cancer here, we can stop it from spreading, and that's one of those things. Yeah. It's a national issue. It's not just a California issue, and you can follow me. I appreciate that. My issue right now is just timing. I'm in San Diego one day, in Sacramento the next day, in San Francisco, and just everywhere. But I appreciate it. I really have enjoyed being on here with you, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. So appreciate you, brother.
All right, my brother. And this is the On Fire Show with Daryl Brooks, and I'm with Ben Bergquam, right?
Ben Bergquam.
Right? Bergquam.
Yeah. Ben
Bergquam. And all right, Ben. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I know you're kind of under the weather a little bit, and you get over with your family. And
I always feel better. I always feel better when I'm talking with Patriots. So I kind of got my second win. But yeah, bless you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Drink some coffee, some tea.
Yeah.
Some good food. All right. I thank you for coming on. God bless.
God bless you, brother. Talk to you soon.
You too. All right. Hi, this is the On Fire Show with your host, Daryl Brooks. I'd like to thank Ben Bergquam for coming on the show. And I want to say this. We have a chance, the opportunity to do something for the people, American citizens. We can stand strong, and God is with us. Please donate to the On Fire Tour. Please go to the GoFundMe page, and I'm going to put it out again, the GoFundMe page. Please give what you can. We raised about $607. We need at least $1,000 to $2,000. We're trying to raise $10,000, but we need about $2,000 for the first leg of this tour. Pay for gas, food. We need literature. We need a lot of different things. So please support the On Fire Tour. We're going to New Jersey. We're going to talk about the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, especially the Second Amendment rights. We're going to deal with sanctuary states. We're going to speak out against it. We're going to have our phones, and we're going into the barbershops. We're going into the inner city areas and having a conversation with people about the Second Amendment, about illegal immigration, about the educational system, and about the public school system, about the politicians that keep supporting them, and they keep supporting the politicians that have continuously failed them over and over and over again. So please support. Go to the On Fire Tour GoFundMe page and give what you can. Share this message. Share this show with as many people as you can. Hundreds of people, thousands of people. Please do what you can for this. I'd like to thank you all for coming on the show. I thank Ben Bergquam to come on the show. Is there any questions you'd like to ask? Now is the time you can ask some questions. You can ask me a couple of questions before I go. My mouth is getting dry. I'm talking too much. This is the On Fire Show. This is awesome. I'm excited about what you guys are doing. Thank you, Angela. And I thank you so much. Can you please support the On Fire Tour? Can you please send it out? Send our link out. And, Angela, that'll be a great thing if you can send our link out and support somehow and tell your friends and all those who are watching. Please today, please help us out. We're pushing June 16th to get this RV tour out, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to make New Jersey a better state. We're making New Jersey, as Trump said, making America great. We're making New Jersey great. We're going to challenge a lot of different things and challenge the people to stick up for what's right, what's morally right, not what's politically right. And before I go, I like to quote Martin Luther King, because we all need to hear this. We have to talk about, first, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. What did he say? Love everybody, bless them that curse you, pray for those who despitefully use you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. We have to stand strong. We have to believe that there is God. God is with us, and the Lord will never leave us. God is always with us. He will never forsake us. I guarantee you, if we do what's morally right for us as a people. And there's always God in this country. God has protected this country. And we have to stand up for this country and stand with God. and stand with the righteous people, are the great patriots that's fighting the good fight. Hey, people, some of y'all need to turn it up. Turn up your phones. I'm about to leave. But I thank you all. I thank you all for watching this show. Please share with your friends. Share this show and please donate to the On Fire Tour. I like to end what Martin Luther King says. He says that we're all caught up in this great inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. And whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly, and that I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be unless I am what I ought to be. Then he quotes John Donne the poet that no man is an island, every man is a piece of the continent, part of the main. Then he goes on to say that any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind. Therefore never send to Nome, whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. And this is what we should believe in as a people, as a country, and stand up, help each other, and do what's right. Do what's right by God. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. I am about to go. I had a great show, and please go to the GoFundMe page and support. Go to that GoFundMe page and support and send it out and share with your friends. Please, people, we need your support. And for all those who are watching, God is good, God is great. And thank Ben Bergquam to come on the show. He's out in California. Look up what he's doing with the sanctuary state. We have to challenge that sanctuary state in California. We need to challenge it right here in the state of New Jersey. Challenge Phil Murphy. Any student that goes to, any illegal immigrant that gets free college education and goes to the colleges, to me, it's illegal. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. It may be what's politically right, but it's morally wrong. When all our American citizens, especially New Jersey, that are trying to get in college or going to college and are working and suffering and got to pay $50, $60, $70, $80,000 to get into college and pay back student loans, while you have people here that are illegal, in getting free college education. Think, people. Put on your thinking caps. I'm sorry if you can barely hear me, but put on your thinking caps, please, and think about what's happening. God bless. I love you all for watching, and stand up and research. Don't hear from, you can hear this from us, what we're saying, but we want you to go out and research it yourself. Go Google it, Wikipedia it, look for information, because what we're saying is truth. We're not lying to you, but don't listen to us, me. Google what Phil Murphy is doing. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow. I try to have great shows on. I promise you great guests, and I've had great guests on the show. Okay? Thank you. God bless. And I'm out. Please support the On Fire Tour. Yeah, and I'll try to get a better mic. Try to figure out what's going on with this mic. Because this is an iPhone. God bless. I'm out of here.